Thank you, Zoom lady. So one just quick kind of, one quick thing is just that if you aren't comfortable being on camera on a recording, we are going to be posting this to YouTube. We're not going to be like, putting it on Twitter and all kind of stuff, but it would be available through our, if somebody came to our YouTube channel. So if you prefer not to be on camera, that's totally fine. Anyway, welcome everybody to orientation for the fall 2021 cohort for the Collab Lab. Super excited to meet you all. We were chatting before some of you got here. It's a little bit smaller group than we had the other day, which is great because we get to know you even that much better. So yeah, really excited to get to know you all a little bit and share with you sort of how the program works. So you are, probably wondering a little bit about what the mechanics of the project are and some of those kinds of things. So we're gonna go through that. It's kind of a lot of information, but it's all written down. Don't worry, like it's all, and it'll be repeated, as things kind of come up. So the goal really here is to make sure you've heard it once and kind of like, oh yeah, they said this thing about how we make our branches, and now I know where to look that up. So anyway, so we'll cover all that in a minute. But maybe Stacie, do you want to talk about the code of conduct before we go further? Okay.
Yes, I do. Hi, I'm Stacie. So at Collab Lab, we live by our code of conduct. It's something we take very seriously. You should have already read it during the application process, and when you signed your, I can never get this word, when you confirmed your participation in the Collab Lab. It was on there too. But if you want to refresh on it, if you want to read it again, if you forgot what it said, you can check it out on the website. We'll link to it in chat. You can always find it there. But what this will look like for you is that each of your teams has a professionally trained code of conduct responder. That person is there for you for whatever you might need to make sure that you have a safe, warm, welcoming space to learn and grow. And that code of conduct responder, if they haven't already, should reach out in your channel and introduce themselves, and they'll be on some of your meetings. But they'll be scheduling a one-on-one with you in a couple of weeks, after a couple of weeks of the program has gone by, so that you can talk about anything that you might need to talk about. So that could be, if something made you feel uncomfortable or could be improved, it's a good time to share that. Or if things are going really, really great and you want to share that too, that helps us kind of guide where to go next and what things we should keep doing. So that's just your space to talk about whatever you want, but just know that you have a whole team of professionally trained code of conduct responders for anything you might ever need. You can DM yours that is assigned to your team. You can DM me. You can email all of the code of conduct responders at code of conduct, code-conduct at thecollablab.codes. Again, I'll put it in chat. It's a mouthful. But we're here for you so that we can all uphold a really safe space for us all to be together and participate. Okay, code of conduct.
Cool, thank you so much. Very important. All right, first thing we want to do though is before we get into all the information that we're going to be throwing at you is just meet all of you. So one of the things I like about this is that we all get to hear you say your name once, at least, so we all kind of know how to pronounce your name. But I'm just always super interested to to hear like where people are and just to hear your voices for the first time. So I will go first. I'm Andrew. I am the founder of Collab Lab, and I'm located in Portland, Oregon. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm not going to be directly mentoring any of the teams this time, but I'm going to be working on sort of program level stuff, and then kind of maybe filling in if it's needed on any of the teams. Just kind of generally, it's kind of watching you all grow and flourish over the next 8 weeks.
Oh, so, that's cute. I like
that. Stacie, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Stacie, co-founder of Collab Lab. She, her, hers. I am based in Sacramento, California. You might see me in England sometimes too. I also am not directly mentoring any teams, but I'm here for you if you need anything at all, or if you don't need anything and you just want to connect, I'm also here for that. I love that. Okay, I will pass it to Lauren.
Hey everyone, my name is Lauren. I'm a longtime mentor with the Collab Lab, and I help coordinate mentors for teams. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I live in Minnesota, just outside of Minneapolis. I'm filling in for a little bit at the beginning of TCL 33, so I'll get to hang out with some TCL 33 people, so that's fun. I always love like the start of a new cohort. It's really exciting. Did I do everything? And I work with Andrew and Stacie too.
Mhm.
Pretty cool. Yay. Ikram, I'll pick you next.
Hi, my name is Ikram. My pronouns are she, her. I live in Canada and I'm part of TLC 33.
Oh, excellent.
Nice.
Get Lauren as your stand-in for a while.
Oh yeah. Do you want to pick the next person to go?
Shalom.
Oh, you're muted. There we go.
Hey.
Can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm having some technical issues. I had to dial in on my phone. Yeah, so I'm Shalom, Shalom Kabeda. I go by she, her. And I'm not sure what else I'm supposed to add. I think you said part of what team, but I'm actually still figuring out how this is all working. So I don't have a lot of information about the specifics of it, but yeah, I live in Sacramento too as well. So hi, Stacie.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I'm not sure what else to add, but it's nice to be here, and I'm
Perfect.
happy to see everyone and meet up.
That's great. Who's next? April, you're unmuted. You want to go?
I'll go. Hi, I'm April. I'm a mentor on TCL 32, which actually I think, Shalom, you're on our team. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. I have used she, her pronouns, and I live in just southeast of Los Angeles in California. I'm not sure what else. Okay, let's do Fatima.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Fatima Camaro. You can also pronounce it Fatima. That's also correct. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm also from Sacramento, California.
Oh my gosh, what?
Oh,
This is amazing.
you made Stacie's day.
I love it. We
The
never get
Sac City
Sacramento people.
party.
I love it.
I'm TCL 32.
Amazing.
That's awesome. And Arvin, we lost Tanner somehow, but Arvin went to go.
Yeah, he might have had to. We've got a big project we're working on, so he may have to cut and
Oh,
go do something
okay.
with that.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Arvin. I'm based in New York City. Pronouns are he, him, his. And I'm in team TCL 33.
Nice.
Nice.
Arvin's back for the second orientation. I was like, to do what part of this would you like to present?
I forget at what point you had to drop, but you're the lucky one who gets to meet everybody. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
quite a
true.
bit.
So I think Lauren, you might be sharing your screen.
I will do
All right. Cool. So I'm just going to talk a little bit very quickly about what Collab Lab is now that you're here and you're already admitted and going to be part of it. But the Collab Lab, we're a US-based nonprofit. That's kind of our legal entity, but we exist to help you all get jobs in tech. I mean, that's really kind of what we're here for. So tech can be kind of gatekeepy if you haven't noticed, and a little bit homogenous and those kinds of things. And so we exist to try to help break down some of those barriers and help y'all, kind of get the skills that you need to sort of stand apart from, the masses of kind of early career people who are out there trying to get jobs. We do that by putting you on teams and having you work through, a fairly real world project under the guidance of professionals in the field. So you'll spend the next 8 weeks building what we call a smart shopping list app, kind of a little mobile app that we'd use to kind of track your shopping. Like it kind of learns over time how often you buy different things, and so kind of at what intervals. And as it learns that, it puts those things at the top of the list when it thinks you are going to need to buy it. So it's kind of a clever little application. Everybody builds the same app, so all the teams are building the same thing. And one of the really fun things about Collab Lab is just to see how different they all turn out at the end. All the different teams, the creativity comes out, and just all the different things that people bring from their own experiences lead to, most of the same functionality, but just a very different look and feel each time. So it's a lot of fun. We think it's kind of helpful. There's from the cohort 6, there's a demo video here, a walkthrough of their app. So it can be kind of helpful if you watch that demo to see sort of where you're going, what the end state is. So as you're building things, you're kind of putting together, the first elements of a certain screen, you sort of know where it's going. It just it's kind of nice to kind of understand that up front. So I encourage you all to watch that. And then, yeah, so you are joining a community of developers and professionals and different people who, we're all kind of not all over the world quite yet, but we're working on that. But we're running teams this time in North America. We have teams or a team in Europe and Africa time zones. And then we have a team in Latin America that's going to be conducted in Spanish. So we have 5 teams going this time. So yeah, you are joining all those people and all the people who've come from the 30 Collab Lab teams before you. In this kind of community of people who have all been through, the same kind of thing, who all kind of support each other and can, are all kind of looking out for each other. So it's really nice kind of experience. So we really believe that, knowing how to code is just a small piece of being a good developer. So, sometimes it feels like it's maybe 10% of the job. I don't know, like Stacie and Lauren could probably attest to that. It's like, there's a lot of like the communication side and the collaboration side of being a developer is really super important. And it's actually what can kind of serve you really well long-term in your careers too. So that's what we focus on. If you're like, you'll probably get a little better at coding because you're having professionals look at your code and things, but it's like the real point here is that you get a lot better at collaborating. You kind of figure out, you have experience with all the mechanics of how teams work together, software teams work together, and just, build up some of those skills. And you get to talk about some of the concepts for the first time. One of the ways that you do that is through pair programming. So we really strongly feel like pair programming is just an amazing experience, especially, well, at all levels really, but like when you're early in your career, each person has, there are things and then a bunch of things you don't know. But by coming together and working together, you're creating sort of a Venn diagram of skills that you can apply to the problem. So each week you're going to be paired with a different person on your team, and you're going to be assigned an issue to work through, and you'll be spending some of your time, synchronously working with them on the issue. There's no kind of one right way to do pair programming. There are lots of ways that can work. So we will do a learning module. I think it's week 3 when we do that. But in the meantime, just, kind of experiment with it, try some different things out, see how it goes. And then when you get to that learning module, you'll have a little bit of experience to draw on. You can ask your mentors some good questions that week. So yeah, I think that's it for me. I'll hand it over to Lauren to go through a bit more about how it all works.
Awesome. Yeah, so my section is covering sort of all of the day-to-day, week-to-week things that you'll be doing throughout your time with the Collab Lab. And it's a lot of information, but just know in every one of your repositories, so I'm here in TCL 33's repository, this information is right there, ready for you to access anytime. So please don't worry that you have to have all of this memorized at the end of at the end of this orientation. So how does it all work? You'll be building a smart shopping list, like Andrew just said. And then in your repo, you will find, so here I'm in TCL 33. And usually when you land on the repository, right, you hit this code tab. If you go to the projects tab, this is where you'll find your project board, the Smart Shopping List project board. And so the project is organized as a set of user stories. There are a total of 13 stories that you'll complete throughout your time that you're here. So each story has a description and then a set of acceptance criteria that you'll work with your pair partner for the week to meet those acceptance criteria before that code gets merged into production. So during a week, your team of 4 developers will split into 2 pair, and each one of you will take one of those issues off of the backlog, and we do them in order. And at the end of those 8 weeks, you have a pretty amazing app. So I think I mentioned this before, but your issue that you're working on with your partner is considered done when all of those acceptance criteria have been met. If you're working on a particular feature that's more front end focused, you want to make sure that that it's been reviewed for accessibility. You can use developer tools to help you with that, and your mentors can help guide you on how to test for accessibility. The code to complete the task goes through 2 rounds of code review. So first, it goes through a round of code review with the opposite pair of developers on your team. And then once they've approved it and you've responded to all that feedback, et cetera, then your mentors will do a round of code review as well, get feedback from the mentors. And once that is approved, then your code gets merged into main. Yeah. That's sort of how the development process works week to week. In terms of coordination and communication, so like Andrew was saying, really the Collab Lab is all about collaboration and how we work together as a team and what it's like to work on a software team. In particular, what it's like to work on a remote team. So many of us choose to work remote, and many of us are working remote because of circumstances as well. So it's a little bit, communication is super important, and it's a much more intentional kind of communication that you do when you're working on a remote team than when you are working together, when you're co-located, working together in an office, right? So first of all, one great way to communicate and to organize your thoughts and your research for the week is to put up a draft PR, a draft pull request. If you click on this link, it'll give you some information about how to set up a draft pull request, but your mentors can help you with that as well. It's a really great way in GitHub to kind of co-locate all of that information about the particular issue that you're working on. You can ask questions of your mentors, you can ask questions of one another, pin interesting articles, commenting back and forth. It's just a really great way to encapsulate all of that information about that particular issue, especially like future you will thank you when you go back and you're looking at your code. And you want to see more information about that pull request you submitted and why you approached a problem in a particular way. It's a really, I look back at my pull requests in GitHub all of the time to see comments. I know that I leave research in my pull requests. It's a really valuable source of information. So using those draft PRs. And then in terms of kind of day-to-day communication, we use Slack. Slack is a super fun tool. I know when I first started in software development 5 years ago, I was a bootcamp grad, and we used Slack at my bootcamp, and it was just the most fun thing in the world to use. I love using Slack, but there's some really super handy tips to working with Slack. So number one, using threads is a really powerful way to communicate and organize your communication in Slack in particular. So I know when I first started using Slack, we would just chat back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then 2 months down the line, you're trying to find that one piece of information that you know is in Slack somewhere, and you search and you search, and you just have to wade through this long list of messages back and forth to find what you're looking for. Threads help really organize that information so that the question and the answer is all in the same chunk. It's in that same thread. One. Number two, threads are really great because it helps minimize notifications. I don't know about you, but like we all get lots of pings throughout the day with our phones and our watches and Slack, et cetera, and it is really distracting. And you check those things obsessively, or maybe I do, but you should. If you're using threads, you can choose to not participate in that thread so that you won't be notified and pinged all of the time for that information. So it's a great way to minimize your notifications. But speaking of notifications, please feel free to use @mentions to really get someone's attention in particular. So it's much better if I have a PR that's ready to review on my team, I will @mention my team just to get their attention right away. For that kind of communication that you really don't want to get lost. So I'll say, @Stacie, do you have time to review this PR? Rather than say, hey, can someone review this PR? So because maybe nobody will really pay attention to that. And then we also have group mentions. So for TCL33, we have @group TCL33, which will ping all of the developers in TCL33. And you'll also have @group TCL33 mentors if you need to get the mentors' attention. Oh, and then finally, I mean, the thing that's really fun about Slack is getting to use GIFs and emoji very, very liberally. A lot can get lost communicating only by text. So using GIFs and emoji just help create that fun atmosphere, communicate emotion behind the text. I think it's the most fun part about using Slack is using those GIFs and emojis. So sprinkle them in liberally. Okay, so development process. We work, so right now you've just been adding your names to the contributors file, and that's just fine to just push right to the main branch. But going forward, we'll be working on feature branches, which is what you'll do when you're on a team. And we do have a naming convention for those branches. So that convention is initials of the first person, dash initials of the second person, dash some kind of very short description of the issue that you're working on. It's just, it makes it easy and you don't have to think about, oh, what do I call my branch? So for example, Stacie and Alejandro are working together on connecting, hooking their app up to Firestore. So they name it st-an-connect to Firestore. When you're ready to work on the feature, during the first couple of weekly syncs with your team, you'll work together to create those feature branches. We just want to make sure that you're really set up for success for the first couple of weeks. And after the first couple of weeks, everything will feel really natural on Git. Or almost everything. It still doesn't always feel super natural. This part will feel natural. So you and your pair partner have been working together. You feel like, okay, we have code that meets the acceptance criteria. You're going to open a pull request, or really in your case, you're going to convert your draft pull request and say that it's ready for review. You will go to Slack and then @mention your peers and say that your pull request is ready for review. That'll help that cycle go a little bit faster. They'll offer some feedback and ask some questions, and you'll incorporate that feedback. Once they give the thumbs up, then you'll ping your mentors in Slack, please, so to really get their attention. But ping your mentors in Slack and let them know that, that you're ready for their code review. They'll give you some feedback, offer some suggestions. Once that feedback has been addressed, they give the thumbs up, then you're ready to merge your PR into main. And then you can check your work on the production site. And then celebrate with a little emoji. Cool. So, okay, when does everything happen? So the project is expected to take about 40 hours over the course of 8 weeks. So I don't think we've talked about this, but really we have the expectation that your time commitment should not be over 5 hours a week. And this is really important. We want the Collab Lab to be super sustainable. People have jobs, people have families, people have lives and commitments. And we don't want Collab Lab to be an extra burden on top of everything. So 5 hours or less a week is what we're expecting. 2 hours of those, we expect pair programming to be happening, because that's really when the most learning happens. And so throughout your week, what we suggest is that you really front load that development work in the early part of the week. So let's say your weekly sync is on a Sunday. We suggest that you try to have a pull request open by Wednesday. It's really surprising how long code review can take, especially when it goes through 2 rounds of code review. So, pardon me. So first round of code review is the other pair of developers, and then your mentors also go through that review process. That cycle, those 2 cycles take quite a bit of time. So having that pull request up and ready to go on Wednesday is it's a great goal to shoot for. It doesn't always happen that way. Do not worry about it, but it's a great goal to shoot for. Just have that in your mind. So you're pairing, you put up a PR, end of day Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, code reviews happening. You're merging into main by Saturday, and then Saturday or Sunday, you'll have your weekly sync. You'll demo your work for the team and celebrate. Okay, so weekly syncs. This is the best time of the week. This is the best part of Collab Lab. 1 hour every week, you'll meet with your entire team. So all of the developers and all of the mentors will meet, and they have a particular cadence. So the very first part of the weekly sync, you and your other pair partner will demo the work that you've done for the week. So you really want to try to demo on production, and you'll talk about the code, but you'll also demo the feature. Like, this is what it looks like right now, and this is what it does. And this is we always record our weekly syncs, and it's something nice that you can show future people that you're interviewing with. So this is a time that I demoed the work that I was doing in production. It's something that we do all of the time on our teams. So the first part of the weekly sync is demos. The second part, you will either have a learning module, and it's usually on some kind of collaboration topics. We'll talk about pair programming, we'll talk about code review, communication for developers, we'll talk about accessibility. So either a learning module, or on opposite weeks, you'll have a retrospective. So this is a really great time to think about appreciations that you have for the people on your team, for thinking about what's been going really well, what's been working in your favor, what things have worked for your team, what things are getting in the way of your team, maybe what things can be improved, and then take some action items from that going forward to help the work go better and help the collaboration be better. And then finally, at the very end of the weekly sync, you'll talk about the next 2 issues for the week, and you'll meet up with your pair partner and decide when you're going to meet the first couple of hours of that week. Oh my gosh, I think that's
so much information. That's always so much, and it never seems like less. It always just seems like a lot. So thanks everyone for hanging in there. Okay, I'm sure that we missed something, and Andrew has this really great way to put it that I made him say it in the last one. I want you to say it again because I love the way you say it. Okay. About this feeling like a lot.
Yeah. So you ever tried to learn a new board game and you sit there and you read the rules and you're like, I don't have any idea how this thing works. But then as soon as you start playing it, it all starts to make sense. It's going to probably feel like that at Collab Lab. Like, we just threw a bunch of information at you, and there's like all this stuff to keep track of. A couple of weeks in, it's going to be really feeling really natural to you. So just hang in there a little bit. Whenever you have a question, ask your mentors, ask in your team channel, ideally, because if you're wondering, like, how do I name my branch, or like, what do I do next, or whatever the thing is, chances are somebody else on your team has the same question. So, definitely ask all the questions.
Yes, be really loud about them, because it is a lot. It's so much to try and figure out. It's basically like starting a new job. So hang in there and just be loud when things don't make sense, because we are all in this together. So just real quick to recap kind of all the things that we just went over. During your time at Collab Lab, you're going to be working on a software team to build an app together in the same way that you'll be doing out in the dev world. The program is 8 weeks long. We're going to build that smart shopping list app that Andrew talked about. Please check out the demo. I swear it will be helpful. Your app might not look the same, but again, knowing the direction, that's going to be great for you kind of wrapping your mind around what you're supposed to be building. Your team is going to have 4 developers and 3 to 4 mentors. Each week, the 4 developers are going to break into 2 pairs of 2, and each pair is going to tackle 1 issue from your project board. Let's see. Okay, you'll spend about 5 hours a week doing all of the things. Again, be really mindful and loud if you feel like you're going over that, so that we can help either course correct or change the program so it's staying within those time commitments that we've set. And then it says each Sunday, but at the end of each week, whenever your team's weekly sync is every week, that's when you're going to demo the awesome things that you built and learn and grow together and figure out ways to be the best team that you can be. So what is next? Your project is going to kick off this weekend. I know there's a team starting tonight, and there's some other ones throughout the week that are going to be, or throughout the weekend that are going to be starting as well. You're going to start by learning about how to collaborate via Git, because that's going to be a large part of what you do at Collab Lab. That's where you're going to be collaborating on actual code together. And you'll figure out who you're pairing with over the next week so that you can get together and talk about when you're going to meet up to do pair programming. So that's it. If you haven't already pulled down your team's project and added your name to the contributors file, please do that. It's just a really good way for us to make sure that you are set up with the project. If you're not set up with it and you ran into trouble, that's totally okay. There's nothing to feel embarrassed about or anything. It can be a really hard thing to get set up. So be loud if you can't quite get it set up, preferably before your weekly sync, but on your weekly sync, if you still haven't got it set up by then, please do that. And we'll get started. One thing that I'm just going to touch on real quick here, because I don't want to add too much more because this is such a heavy presentation, but at the end of your 8 weeks, we do have a 2-week optional extension on this that we call Career Lab. We found that this core program of Collab Lab does a really great job of getting you some really great teamwork experience on a software development team, but that we really needed to take the extra step to help people prepare for job interviews and actually landing that first role as a developer. So if you stick around for 2 weeks after the program, we'll help you, learn more about how to tell your story and how to go through the job interview process. We'll do like technical mock interviews and technical job fit interviews, and make sure you have your LinkedIn all up to date too. So that's optional, and we'll talk more about that later, but just know that that's coming down the line if you are interested in staying for that. Okay, questions? Any questions? That was a lot.
Gotta be questions.
If you don't have questions right now, that's totally okay too. You probably
Arvin has
will
a
have
question.
them. Arvin.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah. So the pair programming, it's this kind of a dumb question, but we're
No.
both gonna be doing it at the same time, right? It's not like we're working on the same branch at different times.
That's a
Right.
great. Go ahead.
It's actually an excellent question. So yeah, the idea is that you would get on a call or somehow others, maybe it's a just voice or but maybe video, screen sharing something, and actually work through the problem. Like, talk through how should we approach this? Where should we start? Like, are we sure we understand what's being asked? Is if we do this thing, is that like maybe doing too much? Like, all those kinds of things, like kind of do that stuff together, figure it out together. So yeah, one person is gonna, the way that GitHub works, it'll be one person submitting the PR. But you could both be committing to the branch, if you're committing different pieces of it. And it's, there are lots of ways to do this. Like I said earlier, maybe you come together and you figure out an approach, and one person does a little piece of it, and somebody else does another piece of it. Maybe you're able to knock it out in one synchronous session, depending if it's a smaller issue. You'll kind of have to feel that out as you go. But yeah, one thing I would just encourage you all to do is, because you get those little green squares on GitHub, for commits and PRs and all that kind of stuff, is just make sure that you kind of sharing that, letting each person kind of get a shot at actually being the one to submit the PRs and stuff, just to make sure everybody gets some green squares out of the experience too.
Yeah. So like Lauren said in chat, you're going to just work on one branch. So when you kick off this weekend, like say Lauren and I are a pair this weekend, I'll create a new branch and then she'll pull it down. And when we pair, we'll get together and we'll kind of talk through our approach. And then I would probably screen share, and Lauren could kind of help, drive like, oh, try doing this. Maybe we put this code here. And we just kind of work together to get the code in place on that single branch. And then if our session ends and we're still not done, that's when we might delegate things like, all right, Lauren, why don't you take this piece since you're free tonight and let me know where you get tomorrow, and then I'll pick up there, and you just keep pushing to that same branch until the thing is done and you'll have one PR. April.
Yeah, I was just going to mention there's actually a way to also put co-authors on a Git commit so that it shows both participants. I don't remember specifically what it is, but I do know it is. And I can
That's
get that
amazing. I love that.
So
I like that. And
Yes,
do
that's
you know if
very good.
GitHub will pick that up? Like both people get a green
I'm pretty sure it
square?
does. Yeah, it puts it up. At
Ooh.
least it puts it up in regards to
That's
like
amazing.
as the involvement and stuff. I'm not sure if it
Uh-huh.
picks up specifically like you did 6 different commits, but like it'll show your involvement. Yeah.
Nice. We should figure that out and share it with everybody. So
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it right now, just so I can paste it here just for reference. But
that's great. What are the questions? How are you all feeling about it? Are you nervous, excited? Like, how are you feeling?
Excited.
A little bit of both, yeah.
Yeah, excited. Yeah, I just can't wait to do the conflicts. And do we get to deal with conflicts too?
Oh, you'll get to deal with conflicts. Yeah.
This week, probably.
The first 2 weeks are when most of the merge conflicts happen, because it's, you know, the team is sort of working out the architecture of the app. Once after the second week or so, you know, there's different views and people are generally working in different parts of the code base. But when you're starting, there's not much of a code base to be working in, so people are kind of stepping on each other a little bit. But it's a really good experience to kind of work through that stuff the first couple of weeks. So, and if you get yourself into a situation where it's, you know, like sometimes those things can be hard to work through, you know, definitely pull your mentors in to help you if you need to. I remember when we did the very first team, remember Stacie, I think it was the first week, and it was like this terrible merge conflict that I think Scott and Kate spent like most of the day trying to work through or something. I felt really bad.
Yeah, it gets really hairy. Merge conflicts can be challenging. I wrote an article actually that I should share before the first week starts about like how to resolve merge conflicts on Dev2, like an easier way, because it can be just really intimidating. That's one of the good things though about pair programming is like going into a setting like this, you can feel really nervous about like, I don't think I know like how to code that well. And this is really nerve wracking. And you feel nervous because you're like going into it with somebody and you feel like you're supposed to be able to know what you're doing, but nobody knows what they're doing. And so like when you have somebody else that you're pairing with and you can be like vulnerable and ask the questions and just work together to solve it, you're like, oh wait, this is so much better than doing it on my own. Like having 2 brains on it is so much better than having one. So I hope you like pair programming like I did.
Yeah. Now sometimes, you know,
sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes, you know, one person can be trying to fix something while the other person's researching something, you know, so yeah, it's actually really helpful. Yeah,
I was going to say Tanner can attest to my nervousness at my initial experiences with pair programming, as he was the first one that onboarded me into the process.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's a lot of fun once you get the hang of it, though.
Yeah.
I don't like to spend any of my day not pair programming. So like Andrew can attest to this. Like I feel like we are probably the team at our entire company that does the most pair programming. Like we are always pair programming, always. And I think we're so much stronger because of it, and we get shit done doing it. It's great.
Cool. Well, just know, even if you are a little nervous, even if you are thinking like, oh, do I know enough and all those kinds of things, you absolutely belong here 100%. Every one of you, like, you know, we looked at your stuff, like you definitely have the skills to be here and you have the right attitude. Like you're coming in wanting to learn and grow, you know, wanting to kind of understand how software teams work together and things. And that's, you know, it's going to be a great experience. I'm super excited for all of you. Excited to get to know all of you as well. Like, you know, this, like I said, this is a community that's we're going to have each other's backs from here on out, you know, and doing things like LinkedIn recommendations for each other. You know, I've had a few people apply for grad school and they've asked me for letters of recommendation. I'm actually working on one right now. So yeah, that kind of thing, you know, it's definitely, you know, the connections or something are almost as valuable as the experiences.
It is.
So
it's like random things that people need to, like people coming and being like, I have this interview and they're asking me this question, like, what's the best way to respond to that? Or can I like mock interview with you real quick so I can just say some of these things? And just having people to lean on who want to help is, I think, really great.
Yeah.
I love it here.
I know, it's great. It is my favorite thing that I do.
Same. Okay, well, again, if you have questions, be really, really loud about them in Slack because we're here for you. Somebody else I'm sure has the same question and we all want to know the answers. So post them there. Have an amazing first weekly sync this week. I'm really excited to see how they all go. If I can't make them, like I can't make the one right after this because I got to go get my kids. But if I can't see them, I'm going to rewatch them on YouTube. So I can't wait to see them. And welcome to Collab Lab Fall 2021. So excited to have you all here.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Have a great
Bye,
weekend.
everyone.
Bye, friends. See you soon.